The war between humans and aliens had burned across many worlds. Cities were turned to dust, skies were filled with fire, and both sides had lost too much. Among the broken machines and dead soldiers, one man still walked. His name was Ethan, a human soldier who no longer believed in victory. He only wanted to survive and go home. The war had taken his friends, his home, and his peace. Now he walked through a ruined valley, his boots crushing metal and ash underfoot. The wind carried smoke and a strange sound. At first he thought it was only the creaking of wreckage. Then he stopped. It sounded again, soft, high, and weak. It was a cry. He followed the sound carefully, holding his rifle but not wanting to use it. When he reached a fallen alien transport pod, he found the source. A small figure was trapped under a piece of metal. It was not human. Its skin was pale blue with a faint shimmer. Its eyes were large, silver like melted glass, filled with fear. It was a child Ethan's breath caught. For years he had been told that aliens were monsters, enemies that could not feel or love like humans. But now he saw only a child crying in pain. The tiny hands clawed weakly at the ground, trying to move the metal that pinned one leg. Ethan hesitated. If any human officer saw him now, he could be punished. But when the child reached out a trembling hand toward him, his heart decided before his mind did. He dropped his weapon and lifted the metal piece away. The child whimpered softly. Ethan knelt and checked the wound. The leg was bleeding a dark blue color. He pressed a bandage from his kit against it. "Hey, easy there," he whispered. The child didn't understand his words but stopped crying a little. It blinked up at him, confused but not afraid. He smiled gently. "You're going to be all right." He carried the small body back to a cave he had used as shelter the night before. He laid the child on a blanket and started a small fire to keep it warm. The cave smelled of smoke and wet dust. The child's breathing was shallow but steady. Ethan cleaned the wound with water from his canteen. The alien's skin was smooth and cool to the touch, almost like glass. When he poured water on it, the child flinched but didn't fight. He spoke softly as he worked, though he knew the child didn't know his language. "You're safe now. No one's going to hurt you." When he finished, he wrapped his jacket around the small body. The child closed its eyes and slept. Ethan sat near the fire, staring at the flames. He felt strange. For the first time in a long while, he had done something that wasn't about orders or revenge. It was just right. Outside, thunder rolled. He listened to the storm and thought about how small the universe really was, how even enemies could share the same fear and pain. During the night, the child woke and began to cry again. Ethan reached over quickly. "Hey, it's okay," he said softly. He held the small hand and the child slowly stopped crying. The sound of rain on the rocks filled the cave. The child looked at him through half-closed eyes, whispering something in its own language. Ethan didn't understand, but he felt it. The tone was soft and grateful. The moment stayed with him. When morning came, Ethan decided to find food and medicine. He stepped out of the cave and walked down the slope to an old supply crate. He gathered what he could, some water pouches, dried rations, and an old blanket. When he came back, the cave was empty. The blanket lay folded neatly, the fire still burning. His heart jumped. "Hey, where are you?" he called. Panic rose in his chest. He turned toward the entrance and froze. A tall figure stood there, framed by the morning light. She was armored in dark silver plates with glowing blue veins that pulsed like light through her suit. Her face was uncovered. Her skin was the same pale blue as the child's. Her hair silver white, her eyes sharp like blades of light. She moved with calm grace, but her expression was fierce. In her arms was the child. Ethan lifted his hand slowly. "I didn't hurt it," he said. The alien woman stared at him without speaking. Her voice, when it came, was calm but filled with power. "You are human. Why is my child alive?" He looked down at the ground, then back at her. "Because I couldn't let it die," he said quietly. "War or not, it's still a child." The woman's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Something unsure, something human. She looked at her child, who held out a small hand toward Ethan. The woman's jaw tightened. "You should have left it. My people would kill you for this act." "Then why haven't you?" he asked. His voice was steady, though his heart pounded. She stepped closer, studying him. The air between them felt heavy, filled with tension and curiosity. "Because my child breathes because of you," she said. "You have done what no human has done before." Ethan lowered his hands. "I didn't do it for thanks," he said. "I just couldn't watch a kid die." The alien mother looked at him for a long time. The wind blew between them, carrying the smell of metal and dust. Then she reached into a pouch on her armor and pulled out a small crystal shaped like a wing. It glowed faintly in her palm. She pressed it into his hand. The surface was warm. "Take this," she said. "You saved what is mine. That means you are now marked by me." He frowned. "Marked?" She didn't explain. She only turned, holding her child close. The child looked over her shoulder at Ethan, eyes wide and sad, before they vanished into the mist outside. Ethan stood there for a long moment, the crystal warm in his hand. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat. He didn't know what the mark meant, but he felt it wasn't over. That night he sat by the fire, staring at the crystal. When he touched it, strange visions flashed in his mind, stars, ships, and a face. Her face, the alien woman. He could feel her presence far away, like she was watching him. He shook his head and set the crystal down, trying to sleep. But dreams came instead. He saw her walking through fire, her child clinging to her and himself standing in the way of danger. He woke with sweat on his forehead. Outside, the rain had stopped. The valley was quiet except for the sound of distant engines. He looked up and saw lights moving across the clouds. Varian ships, alien patrols searching for survivors. One beam of light passed over his cave but then moved on. He held the crystal tight in his hand. Somehow it protected him. Far away in the sky above, inside one of those ships, the alien mother stood before a screen. The child slept beside her. One of her soldiers approached. "Commander Mara," the soldier said. "The human who touched your child, shall we find him?" Mara looked at the screen showing the surface of the planet. She could see the faint heat mark of the cave where Ethan stayed. Her eyes softened. "No," she said quietly. "Not yet. He saved my blood. He is not prey. He will come to me when the time is right." The soldier bowed and left. Mara stood alone, watching the screen. Her child stirred and whispered softly in sleep. She touched the small head gently. "He protected you," she murmured. "Now he belongs to us." On the planet below, Ethan packed his things at dawn. He didn't know what was waiting for him beyond the hills, but he could feel that his life had changed. He wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was part of something strange and new, tied to the enemy in a way he couldn't explain. The crystal pulsed again as he walked away, its light faint under the rising sun. He looked back at the valley one last time and whispered, "Take care of the kid." Then he kept walking, unaware that in the sky above, the alien mother's eyes followed his every step. Ethan walked across the empty valley under a pale morning sun. The air still smelled of smoke and dust from the war. He moved quietly, his pack light, his rifle slung across his shoulder. Every few steps he looked back at the hills, half expecting to see the alien mother appear again. But there was nothing behind him, only wind and silence. He touched the crystal she had given him. It still glowed faintly against his palm like it was alive. Sometimes it felt warm, sometimes cold, as if it had a heartbeat of its own. He kept walking until he reached the edge of a burned forest. The trees were black and twisted. In the middle of the ashes, he found the wreck of an old human scout vehicle. Inside, he searched for supplies, ration packs, batteries, a working radio, but everything was broken. He sighed and sat on the edge of the wreck, staring at the empty land stretching in every direction. He felt alone again, but this time it was different. He had seen something that broke all the lies he had been told. The aliens were not monsters. They were people, with families, with children, and one of them had looked at him not with hate, but with something he couldn't name. That night he built a small campfire near the wreck. As the flames burned low, he took out the crystal again. It pulsed brighter in the firelight. Suddenly he heard a faint hum, like a voice calling softly through the wind. He frowned and looked around, but there was no one. The sound was coming from the crystal itself. He held it closer and felt something strange, a soft warmth spreading through his mind like a whisper of thought that wasn't his own. He couldn't understand the words, but he felt emotions, worry, gratitude, and longing. It was her, the alien mother. Somehow she was reaching him through the crystal. He tried to speak, though he wasn't sure she could hear. "I don't know who you are," he said quietly, "but your child's safe. I just did what anyone should." The crystal pulsed once in answer, brighter than before. Then it dimmed again. Ethan sat in silence, feeling a strange peace settle over him. The stars above seemed closer that night. Days passed. He moved toward the mountains where human rescue ships were expected to arrive. But the farther he walked, the more the crystal seemed to guide him another way. Every time he tried to head north, the crystal grew cold and heavy. But when he turned east toward the old alien ruins, it grew warm. It was almost as if it wanted him to go there. He didn't know why, but something deep inside told him to follow. When he reached the edge of the ruins, he stopped. Tall stone towers rose from the earth like broken teeth, glowing faintly with ancient light. The place felt alive even though it was silent. He stepped carefully, scanning the shadows. Suddenly, a low sound echoed through the air. A ship approaching fast. He ducked behind a fallen wall. The ship was sleek and silver, hovering low over the ruins. It was not human. He gripped his rifle but didn't raise it. The craft landed and a ramp opened. 5 alien soldiers stepped out, armed and armored. Behind them came a tall figure in silver and black, the alien mother. She walked slowly, her eyes fixed straight ahead. Ethan's pulse quickened. He didn't know if she was here for peace or for something else. She stopped near the center of the ruins. Her soldiers spread out around her. "He is here," she said in her own language. The soldiers began searching the area. Ethan knew he couldn't stay hidden for long. He took a deep breath, stepped out of the shadows and raised his hands. "I'm here," he said. No need to look. The soldiers aimed their weapons at him instantly, but she lifted her hand and they stopped. Her silver eyes locked on his face. "You came," she said softly. "The crystal led you." He nodded slowly. "I guess it did." She stepped closer, studying him carefully. "You saved my child," she said. "Do you know what that means for my kind?" He shook his head. "No, it means a bond," she said. "A life for a life. You are connected to me until that debt is balanced." Her voice was calm but strong. Ethan frowned. "I didn't ask for that. I just couldn't let the kid die." Her gaze didn't waver. "You do not choose the bond. It chooses you." She paused, then her expression softened. "My child still speaks your name in dreams. You are remembered." He looked away for a moment, unsure how to answer. "You don't owe me anything," he said again. "I'm just a soldier who got tired of fighting." She tilted her head slightly, her silver hair catching the dim light. "Perhaps," she said. "But fate does not care for tired soldiers." The air between them felt heavy again, like the first time they met. He could see the soldiers watching them closely, waiting for a command. "If you're here to arrest me," he said quietly, "I won't fight you." She looked at him for a long time before answering. "If I wished you dead, you would not still breathe," she said. Then more softly, "I came to understand you." Her words caught him by surprise. "Understand me?" She nodded. "You risked your life for my child. My people do not understand mercy from humans. I must know why." Ethan took a slow breath. "Because I saw fear in that child's eyes, and I've seen too much fear already. I don't care if someone has blue skin or silver eyes. A kid's still a kid." For the first time, her expression changed. The anger and pride faded, replaced by something gentler. "Your kind has brought pain," she said quietly. "But perhaps not all of you are the same." She turned to her soldiers and said something in her language. They lowered their weapons and stepped back. "You will come with us," she said. "You are safe among my people now." He hesitated. "You want me to go with you? Why?" "Because you are marked," she said. "The crystal ties your life to mine. If you stay here, others will hunt you. Humans and Varians alike. They will not understand what you did." Ethan knew she was right. If human patrols found him with alien tech, they would call him a traitor. And the aliens might kill him anyway for stepping into their territory. He looked at her again. "You trust me enough to bring me to your world?" "I trust the bond," she said simply. He looked down at the glowing crystal. It pulsed again as if answering her. Finally, he nodded. "All right, I'll go." Her soldiers stepped aside, letting him walk toward the ship. As he passed them, he could feel their eyes on him. Cold, curious, judging. But when he reached the ramp, the child appeared. It ran out from inside the ship, laughing softly, its small arms reaching toward him. "Ethan!" it cried, speaking his name perfectly for the first time. The mother froze, surprised. Ethan smiled faintly. He knelt and lifted the child into his arms. "You remember me, huh?" The child nodded, touching his face gently. The alien mother's eyes softened again. When they entered the ship, the doors closed behind them. The engines roared, lifting them into the sky. Ethan sat near a window, holding the crystal. The alien child sat beside him, clutching his sleeve. Outside, the burned land grew smaller and smaller. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a soldier. He felt something else. Hope. The ship broke through the clouds and into the dark blue of space. The stars looked sharper here, closer. The alien mother stood near the front, giving quiet commands to her crew. Then she turned and walked back to him. "We are going to my world," she said. "You will be my guest," he looked at her. "Guest or prisoner?" She paused, then said softly, "You will learn the difference." The ship glided smoothly into the void. The child leaned against Ethan and fell asleep. He looked down at the small face and smiled faintly. The alien mother stood nearby, watching them both with unreadable eyes. Somewhere deep inside, Ethan felt that his life was no longer his own. The bond between them was real, and it was pulling him toward something he didn't yet understand. He closed his eyes as the ship sped toward the distant stars, unaware that his name was already being spoken across the alien world as the human who had saved a child of the Varian Queen. And far below on the ruined planet, the winds carried his footprints away, erasing the last trace of the man he used to be. The ship entered the orbit of a glowing blue planet surrounded by rings of silver dust. Ethan had never seen anything so beautiful. The lights of the alien cities shimmered across the surface like veins of crystal. The child pressed its small hands against the window, smiling with excitement. "Home," it whispered softly. Ethan looked at the alien mother. "This is your world?" She nodded. "Varia," she said. "Our home, the place your people tried to destroy." Her tone was calm, but he heard the pain behind it. He didn't answer. He only looked out at the world that was once his enemy. As the ship descended, he saw floating towers, glowing rivers, and fields that shimmered in strange colors. The architecture was graceful, like living stone carved by light itself. It was a world both peaceful and powerful. He wondered how many of her people had died in the war, and how they would look at him when they saw a human walk among them. When the ship landed on a wide platform, soldiers were already waiting. Their armor gleamed in the sun and their faces were unreadable. Ethan felt their eyes on him as he followed the alien mother down the ramp. The child clung to his hand unafraid. The soldiers whispered among themselves, confused at the sight of a human walking beside their commander and her child. The alien mother stopped before them and spoke in her language. Ethan could not understand her words, but he felt their weight. The soldiers lowered their weapons and stepped aside. She looked back at him. "You are safe here," she said. "For now." They walked through a wide hall made of glowing crystal and metal vines that pulsed softly with energy. The air smelled clean, almost sweet. Everywhere he looked, alien symbols glowed faintly along the walls. The people they passed stopped to stare. Some looked curious, others angry. No human had ever stepped here before. Ethan felt like a stranger in a dream he could not wake from. The child looked up at him with bright eyes, unaware of the tension. "Ethan," it said proudly, showing him to everyone as if introducing a friend. He smiled softly, though he felt the stares burning through him. Finally, they entered a quiet chamber high above the city. The windows showed the vast landscape below, mountains that sparkled like glass and skies filled with flying ships. The alien mother turned to him. "This will be your place," she said. The room was simple but beautiful. A bed made of soft silver fabric, a table of crystal, and a small pool of water that glowed faintly in the corner. "You will rest here until I decide what comes next." He looked at her, unsure if this was kindness or control. "And what do you want from me?" he asked. She walked closer. "I want to understand you," she said. "You saved my child, though you had no reason to. Humans destroyed our colonies, yet you risked your life for one of us. I need to know why." He sighed. "Maybe because I was tired of hate," he said. "Because when I saw that kid bleeding, I didn't see an alien. I saw someone who needed help." She studied his face quietly for a long moment. "Your eyes do not lie," she said softly. "Perhaps you are not like the others." She turned away, her long silver hair shining in the light. "Rest, you will meet our council soon. They must see the human who carries the bond." When she left, the child ran to him and hugged his leg before following her out. Ethan sat on the bed and let out a deep breath. Everything felt unreal. The soft hum of the alien world filled the air. He looked at the glowing crystal on the table. It was the same one she had given him. It pulsed gently and he felt her presence again, distant but real. He touched it lightly and whispered, What have I gotten myself into? The next day, he was escorted through the city by 2 alien guards. The people watched from the streets, whispering as he passed. The city was full of light, with tall towers connected by bridges of energy. Strange creatures flew in the sky, and the air shimmered with soft colors. It was peaceful, almost too perfect, yet he could feel the distrust in every glance. When they reached the Great Hall of the Varian Council, he saw 12 figures seated around a circular platform. The alien mother stood in the center, her posture proud but calm. The child sat quietly beside her. Ethan was told to stand across from them. The council spoke in their language for a while, their voices sharp. Then one of them turned to him and switched to broken human speech. "Human," the elder said. "You stand in our home, yet your kind brought war here. Why should you not be judged?" Ethan swallowed hard but kept his voice steady. "I didn't come here to fight. I came because I saved a child. I didn't do it for reward or forgiveness. I did it because it was right." The council members murmured among themselves. The elder looked at the alien mother. "You claim this human carries your mark," he said. She nodded. "He does. He saved my child. That bond cannot be broken." The elder frowned. "The bond between enemies brings danger. The people will not accept it." Her eyes flashed with light. "Then they will learn," she said firmly. "He is under my protection." The hall fell silent. Ethan could feel the weight of her words. Even the council members looked uneasy. The elder finally spoke again. "Very well," he said. "But know this, Commander Mara. If this bond brings harm to our people, it will be ended by force." When the meeting ended, Ethan followed Mara out. She walked fast, her face cold. "You should not have spoken," she said quietly. "Our council sees words as weapons." He frowned. "I just told the truth." She looked at him, and for a brief moment her anger softened. "You are too human," she said. "You speak from heart, not strategy." That night she came to his chamber again. She stood by the window, watching the stars. "You changed something today," she said softly. "The council fears what they do not understand." "They fear you." He looked at her from the bed. "And you? Do you fear me too?" She turned to face him. "No," she said quietly. "I fear what you might mean to us." The child entered the room then, laughing and holding a small glowing toy. It ran to Ethan and showed it proudly. "For you," it said in broken words. He took it, smiling. "Thank you, little one." The child laughed again and climbed onto the bed beside him, falling asleep moments later. Mara watched in silence. The sight of her child resting beside a human soldier filled her with something she couldn't name. She walked closer and spoke softly. "You have changed my child. It no longer dreams of fear. It dreams of you." He looked up at her. "That's not a bad thing," he said. "Maybe it means there's hope." She stared at him for a long time, then nodded slowly. "Perhaps." The next morning, the sound of alarms woke them. Red light flashed through the room. Mara entered quickly, her armor half-fastened. "Stay here," she said sharply. "What's happening?" he asked. "Human ships," she replied. "They've entered orbit. They are searching for you." Ethan stood, shocked. "They think I've been captured," he said. She turned toward him, eyes fierce. "If they find this city, there will be war again." He felt guilt twist inside him. "Then let me talk to them," he said. "Maybe I can stop this." She shook her head. "They will not listen. You are one man and they see only the enemy." The child woke, frightened, clinging to her. "Mara, no fight," it whispered. She knelt and hugged the child tightly. "I will not let them hurt you," she said. Then she looked at Ethan. "And I will not let them take you." The city shook as the first explosion echoed in the distance. He ran to the window and saw bright flashes in the sky, human ships clashing with alien defense drones. The air filled with thunder. Mara turned to her guards. "Get him to the lower chambers," she ordered. Ethan protested. "I'm not running while your people fight because of me." She met his eyes, her voice low and steady. "This is no longer about you, human. This is about the choice we made the day you saved my child." Before he could answer, another blast hit nearby. The floor trembled. Mara pushed her child toward him. "Protect it again," she said. He caught the small trembling figure in his arms as she turned toward the door, drawing her weapon. The last thing he saw was the flash of her armor in the red light as she ran into the chaos outside. He looked down at the child, holding it close. "I'll keep you safe," he whispered. Just like before. The roar of battle filled the city above them, and deep inside, Ethan knew that his bond with her was not finished. It was only beginning. The ground trembled again as explosions shook the alien city. The night sky glowed red and white from the burning ships above. Ethan held the child close while alarms screamed through the halls. The walls of crystal flickered, casting moving shadows across the room. The guards who had been sent to protect them ran back and forth, shouting orders in their language. Ethan could see fear even in their alien faces. This was no small attack. Human ships were firing on the capital itself. The child clung to him tightly. "Mara," it cried softly, looking toward the door. Ethan tried to stay calm. "She'll come back," he said. He didn't know if it was true, but he had to believe it. He couldn't let the child see his fear. The building shook again and dust rained down from the ceiling. Somewhere above them, a tower collapsed. He could hear the echo of falling metal and screams. One of the guards returned, breathing hard. "Commander Mara is at the defense ring," he said in broken human words. "You go now, safe chamber." Ethan shook his head. "No, I can help her." The guard frowned. "You human. You bring war." Ethan stepped closer. "And maybe I can stop it, please." The guard hesitated. The child reached toward Ethan's hand and nodded as if it understood. Finally, the guard lowered his weapon. "Follow," he said. They ran through the glowing corridors toward the surface. Smoke filled the air as they climbed. When they reached the open platform, Ethan stopped in shock. The once beautiful city was burning. Fire and smoke rose from the towers. Alien ships darted through the air, exchanging beams of light with the massive human cruisers above. The sky looked like it was tearing apart. He saw Mara standing on a high platform, giving orders to her troops. Her armor was scorched, her hair loose, her face hard as steel. She turned when she saw him. "I told you to stay below," she said sharply. He stepped closer, still holding the child. "You need me," he said. "The humans are looking for me. I can talk to them." Mara looked at the child, then at him. "You would risk yourself again?" she asked. He nodded. "If it stops this, yes." She stared at him for a long moment, her silver eyes full of stormlight. "Very well," she said quietly. "But if they fire again, I will not hesitate to strike back." He understood. She turned and spoke into her communicator, her voice echoing across the command lines. Then she handed him a small device. "They will hear you through this," she said. "Say your truth, human." Ethan took the device and stepped to the edge of the platform. The human ships hung above the burning city like dark giants. He pressed the button. "This is Sergeant Ethan Cross," he said, his voice shaking only slightly. "I'm alive." "Stop firing." "I'm not a prisoner. I'm not being harmed. The aliens, these people, are protecting me." Static answered him. Then a voice crackled through the air. "Sergeant Cross? This is Commander Lewis. You're presumed captured. Are you saying you're with them willingly?" Ethan looked at the child in his arms, then at Mara beside him. "Yes," he said firmly. "I saved their child and they saved me. If you keep attacking, you'll start another massacre. There are civilians down here." For a long moment, there was only silence. Then the voice returned, colder now. "Orders stand, Sergeant. We're here to retrieve you and neutralize their command." The sky lit again as human weapons charged. Ethan shouted into the device, "Stop! You'll kill them for nothing." But the ships didn't stop. Mara stepped forward and pulled him back as a blast struck a nearby tower. The explosion threw dust and fire into the air. "They will not listen," she said bitterly. "Your kind only knows destruction." Ethan shook his head. "Not all of us." He turned toward her soldiers. "We can still show them." He looked at the crystal hanging around his neck, the one she had given him. It pulsed faster, brighter than ever before. "This thing," he said. "Can it send a signal?" Mara's eyes widened. "It links our minds," she said. "Why?" "Because maybe I can use it to reach them another way," he said. Before she could stop him, he lifted the crystal high. Light burst from it, a beam shooting upward into the sky. It wasn't a weapon, it was a message. The light spread into a wide pattern, showing images in the air. Ethan rescuing the alien child. Mara standing over them, the two sides together. It was a memory visible to everyone. In orbit, the human pilots saw the images across their screens. The entire fleet hesitated. The transmission reached every ship, showing what Ethan had seen. Compassion instead of hate, protection instead of war. For a moment, the guns went silent. Down on the ground, Mara stared at him, shocked. "You shared your mind," she whispered. "They see everything." He nodded weakly, the light fading. "They need to know the truth." The silence didn't last long. Another voice came through the communicator, but this time it was not the cold commander. It was another officer, younger, uncertain. Sergeant Cross, and we saw it. Are you saying they saved your life? Ethan nodded toward the sky. Yes, they did. End this before it destroys both sides. The answer came slowly. We're standing down. Then the bright flashes in the clouds dimmed. The human ships began to pull back one by one. The battle was over. The fires below still burned, but the sky was clearing. Ethan lowered the communicator and turned toward Mara. She was watching him silently, her face unreadable. You stopped them, she said finally. You saved us. He shook his head. We saved each other. She looked at him for a long time. Then she stepped closer, her armor still glowing faintly from the heat. You changed what I believed about your kind, she said quietly. You risked your life again, not for your people, but for mine. Ethan smiled faintly. Guess I'm bad at following sides. The child tugged on his sleeve, looking up with a small smile. No more fight, it said softly. He knelt down and hugged the little one. No more fight, he agreed. Days passed. The fires were put out and the city began to heal. Humans sent envoys to meet the Varian Council. The war that had lasted years finally paused. No one called it peace yet, but for the first time no one was shooting. Ethan stayed in the city as a bridge between both worlds. He taught the aliens about humans, and the humans learned the Varian language. Mara often stood beside him during the meetings. Some humans still looked at her with fear, and some aliens still distrusted him, but they listened. That was enough. One evening, he stood on the same platform where the city had once burned. The sky above was clear now, full of stars. The child ran around laughing, chasing a small floating toy. Mara joined him, her armor replaced by simple clothing of soft gray. She looked less like a warrior and more like a mother. You kept your promise, she said. You protected my child again. Ethan smiled. You did more than that. You protected me from becoming what I hated. She looked at him with quiet warmth. Then perhaps the bond did what it was meant to do. He looked out over the glowing towers. Will your people ever forgive mine? He asked. Forgiveness takes time, she said softly. But they will remember what one human did when he had every reason to turn away. The child came running back and grabbed both their hands. Come see stars, it said excitedly. They followed the little one to the edge of the platform. The stars reflected in their eyes, human brown and alien silver side by side. A soft wind blew across the city, carrying the smell of clean air instead of smoke. Ethan took a deep breath. For the first time in years, he felt peace. The war was not gone, but hope had returned. He turned to Mara. You said the bond meant a life for a life, he said. What does it mean now? She looked at him for a moment, then smiled faintly. Now it means something different, she said. It means 2 lives shared by choice, not by debt. He nodded slowly. The crystal around his neck glowed softly, pulsing in rhythm with another light on her wrist. The 2 glows matched perfectly. She reached out and touched his hand. You changed my world, human, she whispered. And I will not forget. The child laughed again and pointed to the sky as a human ship passed peacefully overhead, its lights blinking like a distant star. Ethan smiled. Neither will I, he said. As night fell over Varya, the city lights shimmered, and for the first time since the war began, no one fired a weapon. A human and an alien stood together on the same ground, bound not by blood or command, but by understanding. The world below and the stars above finally shared the same quiet sky. And somewhere deep within that silence, the bond between them glowed brighter, proof that even across 2 worlds, compassion could still win a war no weapon ever could.